Okay, so it's the next day, right? Hold on a minute. Okay, so when you buy those chicken packs, next day, people, right? Okay, so when you buy those chicken packs, right? It normally comes in between $22 and $23, $24. So in light of that, $8 off of $23, you can see, right? Okay, so what is that? If it cost me $23 and I took off $8, so what? I'm paying $15? No, more than that. $23. $13. I'm paying $13. Oh, I can't think. Anyway, that's better than $22, okay? You see that. So that's why I bought it. Now, I don't need to can it because I have canned chicken. I don't need to cut it up and blah because I have that frozen. So for something different, maybe I think I'm just going to, and to make it easy on myself, I'm just going to freeze them whole, vacuum sealed, and then one day when I unthaw it, I'll bring out the rotisserie or something, because I have rotisserie machines, which is nice, right? So that's what I'm going to do with those. Okay, so basically doing it this way, I got one chicken for free. Really, when you think about it, I saved $16, right? Out of 30. Okay, in a bit. Okay, so, and this is another thing you want to stock up on. I have to get. To buy a big box like that, it's like $60 or something. It's 60, $70. But I'll tell you, it does last a long, long, long time. So I got to look for another box because I'm running out. So I'm going to go throw those in the freezer. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to go out to the greenhouse, people. I'll bring my camera because it's raining outside right now. Right? And I'm going to pick some tomatoes that I am going to can green, sliced, for the purpose to have fried green tomatoes that will be breaded at a later date, like the Southerns do in the United States of America. And I'm going to work on canning the rest of that grape that I was working on. And I'm going to go, since I'm going downstairs into Auntie ShaMay's fridge, I'm going to grab a few Macintosh apples, and I'm going to cook up the Macintosh apples and try and blend them in, I think, with the pulp. And then I'm going to taste it from the grape, right? The pulp with the Macintosh apple, the grape pulp with the Macintosh apple. I'm going to taste it, and I'm either going to make a fruit leather with it, or I'm going to can it in jars. I won't know until I get to that point, but that's basically how I'm going to spend the rest of my day, so hold on. Okay, so it is like getting cold. It looks like I'm going to have to water, right? So I'm going to have to water in the rain. I can see these are dry. You can always tell when it starts getting cold. This is what happens, right? Obviously they need water. Well, you can see this one here, right? So what I'm doing here now is I'm picking some of these larger ones, because I'm going to can them sliced, right? I've still got about 10 pint-sized jars, wide mouth, that I can do this, because then I will use that for fried green tomatoes that I'm going to bread, right? So these little lights that I got burning, they don't seem to be making much of a difference in here. Now, mind you, the door is open, but still. So before these plants, like, they're still green. You can see how nice and green everything. Well, see, now it's starting to go, right? Just starting, because it's getting now it's getting cold, people. So anything small, if I take off these big ones, like these small ones, where's the small one? I just seen it. Where is it? Oh, I can't see it. Where's my finger? Yeah, do you see that little one there? Right? These little ones. They may or may not continue to grow. What I'm afraid of is they'll get frostbitten because of the coldness. So before I allow that to happen, I'm going to pick some now. So hold on a minute. Okay, so anyway, that's what I got, right? I'm leaving a few. I'm a little concerned they're going to freeze out here. because it is cold. My fingers are kind of cold. So, I mean, obviously the smaller they are, the faster they can freeze. But if they're going to grow, they're going to grow, right? You know what I'm saying? So, because like I've got, like, I see, like the flowers are still blooming. And there's like a few of them kicking around, little ones. So, with these bigger ones maybe gone, right? I guess it's, you know, like these ones here. I don't want them to freeze on me, right? Well, I can put them in a box, ripen them, or I can can them. Or I can freeze them as is. I don't need to freeze because I already have, right? I don't really need to can, but these ones I'm going to slice. And I'm going to can them. Oops, sorry. I'm going to can them that way. The kale, putting it in here didn't work. Obviously, there's slugs in here. So, they got fed. So, yeah, you know, if the weather stays like this over the next few days, these plants, they're not going to last much longer. Whoa. I lost my balance. I'm wearing the wrong shoes out here. So, I'm just taking the bigger tomatoes. You know, some tomatoes compared to no tomatoes is better than nothing. For some reason, my door, somebody had gotten in here. I don't know. They came and they moved my planter pots. I haven't locked this up yet. And so anyway, that was 3 days ago or 2 days ago or something. And there was some cat in here too, so I don't know. But look at that. For plants that got in 1 month too late, if not more, see, here's another one. So, the little ones can stay. We'll see what happens. This one is doing pretty good. Like you see, there's still a few, right? Just taking the bigger ones. Like you see, I don't know. I don't know if I should be taking these little ones down. Where am I? Right? I mean, the plants aren't completely dead yet. Right? They're still growing. That's the thing. See, there's like inside there you can see, right? They're like little ones. Why you don't want to pick those? Not yet. They're not freezing yet. Right? Okay, so that I have enough jars for, people. I'm going to just can it and be done with it. Right? For the most part. Okay? Better to bring them in now than leave them out there for another week and then they get frostbite. Okay, right now they're perfect. Okay. I just went outside and I got the rest of the squash. I have one more of these out in the back. Just one. I've already brought the rest of them in. I gave a couple to my landlady. Obviously, some of these things are like slightly different or something. These ones are long, right? You can see. So I'm going to wash those ones. And then this is different. This is what I gave my landlady. This one here, I think, is an actual pumpkin because you can see what's going on down there. But you can, I was in the greenhouse, right? Out in the rain. Underneath the grapevine. See, I'm allergic to things. Anyway, you can eat green pumpkin, by the way. So, right, it doesn't have to be orange. You bake it, right? So, now, and there's the apples. So I'm going to get on probably first with the grapes. I gotta get my canners ready, get my jars ready. So I'm gonna get on with the jars first. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this video with what I'm doing today. Always goes back to cooking, doesn't it? I know. Anyway, these are the green tomatoes that I got from my greenhouse simply because it's getting real cold outside and I don't want them to freeze because once they start to freeze, they brown and they're useless. Right? So these should be perfectly fine for canning. Now, I came across a southern recipe. You can see my jars are in there. And I'm going to finish that grape juice today. And then my landlady is going to come by sometime this week. And we're going to scoop up on the rest of the grapes between her and I. So I don't have to worry about grapes now for a few days, right? Because just finish up what's in my fridge. Take the pulp. Maybe cook up those Macintosh apples. Merge the two together and make nice fruit roll up. Or maybe I might can it in the small jars for amari. I have to wait and see what the texture is like. These things I want to cut, okay? And then I'm going to slice them this way, mostly, okay? So I get slices, right? I mean, ultimately, I wish I had tomatoes that size, but I got a few of them. Considering that those plants got in late, I'm grateful just to have this. And I came across a recipe, Southern style fried green tomatoes. And you, I don't know, put them in egg, flour them. I guess you put them in egg again, and then you bread them, and then you fry them. Oh, sounds so good. I don't mind eating fried green tomatoes. So, if you're going to can, you don't necessarily... Now, I've got some already canned like this from years ago, right? Okay, but it's not something that I would normally eat, right? But I might one day put them in a stew. That was the purpose of that one. But I don't have any canned sliced. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if you do it that way, for fried green tomatoes sliced, then you'll be more apt to eat the green tomatoes after you can them versus leaving the jar there as time goes by, right? Right? Because these would not have ripened on the vine. Not at all. It's just getting too cold out there. So now I do got some good news. See, I got enough for a few jars. Right? Like, I'm pretty impressed, people. Right? Okay? There's a few more in there. And then these smaller ones, I will either can whole, or maybe I'll slice them. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just cut them in half. We'll figure it out when we get there. I'm basically going to can them all. Because it's food security in the end, right? It's just, that's what it boils down to. Because if it gets real bad and that's all you have with some rice and maybe some, you know, canned beans and dried beans or whatever it is that you've got in your food pantry, you're going to be happy you have them canned even like that, okay? All right, so the good news is the handyman, it came, well, he's a handyman now. I didn't have a handyman yesterday, but I have a handyman now on the property, and I am so, so happy. Okay, because this guy already, I can tell, you know, just for the short period of time that I was walking through the yard with him, I kind of overwhelmed him with my list, right? But at the end of the day, he came up with some good ideas in terms of how to deal with some of these issues where they won't be so much of an issue year after year after year. For example, like on the porch, instead of using those plastic things, right, metal sheeting is better. So he's going to shop around, see if he can find that kind of stuff. There's a couple of things that he noticed in my yard that he can use to try and repair certain things that are leaking, right? Because when, you know, he goes, where's the leaks? I'm like, well, it leaks there, it leaks here, it leaks there, here it's leaking, you know. So he is a gutter guy, so he went for the leaks first, right? So he is going to do some stuff for me. I told him no pressure, you know, right? And like no pressure from me on him to, right? I'm not trying to pressure him out, right? Just when he has little time and that kind of thing. So I'm really happy with that. He'll probably help me with Mr. Lace's hen house installing windows. So my goal now, Tisha's going to take Amari for a couple of days, right? So my goal is just kind of clear out a path for him, because men like paths. They like to have a straight path. They don't like to navigate and step over things. So I got to kind of like, because I've got wood, I was cutting and just throw the board, and I was washing things, and so there's a pile of things washing, you know, I got things scattered around all over, right? So my goal for the next couple, 2-3 days is just get it more open space so that he can just walk through, do the things that he needs to do, and pick and choose the materials that I have in my yard, right? So that he can do whatever he's going to do. And that's what I need, is someone like that can just do that stuff so that I can do this stuff, people. Right? It's too hard with those juggling between the two. And, you know, I pointed out the pond to him, you know, said, I want to build in a waterfall. And so maybe, you know, I said, in your travels, as you're walking back and forth, you might think of something that, you know, that you can just, and it would get, because I've got everything, right? So what I'm going to do now, because I would really like to get that pond in going by the end of the month. So in my travels, as I'm making room for him to walk around and making the materials easy for him to grab as he needs it, whatever it may be, whatever he's doing at that time, I'm going to start looking for all the parts. Because, like, for example, I asked him about water drums. Like, I have, three big ones, 4, 5. I have at least 5 50-gallon water drums that need to be basically set up to collect water, whether I'm using it to water the garden or whether it's just water in case of an emergency and everything gets shut down and we don't have water because of an earthquake or whatever it may be, right? So I asked him if he could, you know, if he's helped me to set up my water drums. And then he goes, oh, but yeah, but you know, you need this part, that part. And I'm like, well, I actually have some of these parts kicking around, like the attachments, the knobs and stuff, right? And if not, I'll buy them and you can, you know, run them and install them for me. And if some of these gutters that we've got, if we can drain into the water drum, that would be great. Stuff like that, people, makes a huge difference. So, and because, you know, there's no time frame, I booked in the hen house for next year, right? I told him come spring, you know, first part of summer, I'd like to have this hen house going, right? He's already got an idea of what to do in there. Well, you have to clear it out. I said, well, obviously, right now I've just got basically Andre's walnut wood in there, right? And just a few miscellaneous things. But to clear it out for chickens is nothing. And it's already, the only thing I'd have to do is just lay down that screen on the bottom so that rats can't come on through the ground, right? Outside of that thing is pretty much good to go for chickens. And I think you're allowed 4. So I could have 4 hens. Or at least, well, they city bylaws, they want each hen to have their own nesting box. And I know there's 3 boxes in that little playhouse thing that I made. Well, it's really a hen house. That little hen house. It started off as a hen house. Then Andre wanted it as a playhouse. It never got to that point. And then, anyway, it looks like it's going back in the direction of being a chicken coop, right? And it has already 3 hen boxes in there. So to add in 1 more hen box someplace else really, honestly, isn't a big deal, right? And so this time next year, I might have chickens, which is great for the grandkids. Plus, I get those fresh eggs. Plus, I get that chicken poop for my compost boxes, which is really good for making dirt, right? Right? So, you know, there's, and I've got the room for it. It's all there. It's almost like it's calling the chickens, right? So he's willing to work on that come springtime in terms of fencing it off and making it a little more waterproof. He's already got some ideas. So far, everything is looking good in that direction. I told him what my budget was for the next month and a half, right? 2 months before it gets real cold. And then we'll pick up in the spring. And then, yeah. See, now, you know, just making paths. I'm not going to put too much away until he's done basically doing what he's doing. And I do a few things that I need to do. Because you're grabbing the materials as you need them, right? But I'm definitely going to clear out all the way around Mr. Lace's hen house, move stuff. I'm going to make a path easy for him wherever I think he's going, and hopefully everything will get done, a lot of it, at least those 2 things, within 2 weeks. And then I can relax. And by then my canning will be done. Because after I do this, and after I do these grapes today, I got 1 more batch of grapes with my landlady, and that's it. I'm done. That chicken, I didn't can it. I froze them whole. You've seen it on this video. I don't need no more meats, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only thing, if I had to buy anything, people, if I had to buy anything, and it's only because I'm feeling insecure. It's not because I need it. It's just because I'm feeling insecure with what my government is doing to the general population of this country called Canada. And that would be flour. As odd as it sounds, just basic white straight up flour. I wouldn't mind another 3 or 4 more bags just to have them on hand. Cuckoo, cuckoo. And lard. Just straight up Crisco lard. Throw them in Auntie ShaMay's fridge. They'll sit there forever. You can keep them on the outside in a cupboard or on a shelf. They'll sit, well, the ones in the tubs anyway, will sit for years, right? So I wouldn't, if I buy anything, that would probably be more lard, right? And a few more bags of flour, because I want to start getting it, once everything calms down, that's all organized, and I start clearing out and making way for Amari stuff, right? Like his wheelchair, right? You know, I want to get in with the bread making with Andre as a cost-saving measure versus relying on a grocery store for the bread. I want us to be making our own breads. Just haven't had time, people, right? And when I'm canning, things just bunk up really bad. And I get behind on things, especially when I'm doing yard work. But we're coming to the light, right? We've turned the corner, and now we're coming into a different tunnel where there's some light there, so that makes me feel good. Now, in regards to April, when you mentioned, you know, I shouldn't have to pay Tisha to do childcare, and you're right, I don't. Normally, I don't, right? Tisha doesn't expect it from me. She doesn't. The thing about Tisha, though, is she's young. She has her own kid, has her own life, right? And, you know, so if I have the money to spare, right? And because I got that child support, right? I said, here's some money for helping me out, because she helps me out a lot. She's the only one who helps me. It's Tisha and me who basically look after Amari. So, you know, we need to set the record straight. She's the go-between with all the workers in terms of, because she's got the cell phone, right? So, you know, if he needs that appointment, or, you know, the eye appointment, or this appointment, or whatever appointment it is that's related to him and his, you know, situation, you know, everybody texts and they do their Zoom, because now we're doing Zoom meetings, right, with, you know, Howie's Amari, and, you know, versus going into the actual building and being a part of that process. It's all being done through Zoom. So she does all of that, right? If he has an appointment, she'll take him for the appointment for me, right? So I don't have to bus it. And, you know, she's been watching him. It's just for the last little while, it just, you know, it hasn't happened. And sometimes I just was hiring that other woman, but, you know, I now we know where that daycare money is going. It's going to Bryce, the handyman. Right? And I don't have to get all stressed out about it at this point. But I don't mind if I have it. You know, I swing her a little bit here and a little bit there, because, you know, life is life, right? Not trying to take advantage of my daughter any more than I'm trying to take advantage of anybody else. But Tisha has never expected or demanded money from me. Okay, so I just want to point that out. All right. And, so anyway, maybe I should just end this video now. You don't need to watch me upload. I mean, you don't need to watch me cut green. I mean, oh, it's simple. You just cut them, place them in your nice clean jars. I'm sterilizing mine, even though it's going to be in a water bath for 40 minutes. 40 minutes in a pint-sized jar. I'm slicing them, trying to get in as many as I can, specifically for southern fried green tomatoes. Right? And after they're done, I'm going to can the juice. You don't need to watch me do that. We've been through it a million times already. So maybe I'll just keep this video short and upload it as is, stay on the good news. We've got a man on the site. See, my son can't do it because, one, he works all day climbing trees. He goes up 200 feet or more into the sky, and he cuts down trees. That's what he does. Or he trims back bay leaf trees, and he's a tree cutter, right? So whether he's trimming them or cutting them or whatever, he's that's outside in the elements, sometimes extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous, especially when he's going up 200 and more, 300 feet up high, right? And last thing he wanted to do is come home and try and be a carpenter when in fact it's not really up his alley. Okay, so it's not that he doesn't care, right, in terms of why doesn't your son help you? Well, over the years he's done things with me and we have our memories, but at the end of the day, it's not really what he likes to do. He's writing a book right now, so he's taking all his energies that when he's not working, and he's focusing it on his book. So he knows about Bryce now on the property, going to be doing all this stuff. He's good with it, right? And he's comfortable with that idea because it just works better for everybody, right? And of course I'll pay for it though, because that's how you run a household. Right? When anytime you live in a house, there's always expenses to a household. I kind of feel sorry for my landlady though. My God. Oh. I get the furnace cleaned, and he's telling me the furnace is like past its due date now. But she might be able to get a few more years out of it if she cleans it every couple of years. Maybe. But outside of that, the furnace is up to its lifespan. She just brought in a new water tank. Well, I guess it was in 2012, because it says 2012 on the sticker. It doesn't feel like 2012. It doesn't feel like 8 years went by, but apparently water tanks only last for 6 years. I'm like, what? So, these are big ticket items, right? So far we don't have to change the water tank or the furnace, but you get my drift, because she's going to do this back door. Last year it was the kitchen downstairs. The year before that it was putting new freaking roof tiles on top of the roof, right? I mean, like, come on. So, and that's what I said to this guy, like with the gutters, and he was honest. He said the gutters don't need to be actually replaced. If you maintain on them, and come spring you'll maybe do a couple little patch ups. Outside of that, don't need to replace the gutters. So he saved her a whole bunch of money, because she was going to think about changing the actual gutters themselves. He said no, he was up there today. So that's what you want. You want someone like that, that's fair, not looking to rob you blind, right, and make you pay for things that you don't necessarily need, right? And if you can get on that pace where, you can spread out the burden of running a household, whether you're a landlord having to pay for these major repairs or replacements of appliances like furnaces and water tanks, or whether you're someone like me that, pays out a little bit extra to, move things along, like that hen house. I don't want to be getting up there building. I have to enclose, like the one area where I've grown things, I'm giving it completely to the chickens so they can go in there and scratch, right? But it all has to be chickened off, right? He has to make a roof with chicken wire. And then he's going to also make something in the actual hen house enclosure where it's not going to leak so much. So, that I'd have to pay for, though. My landlady won't pay for that. But that's, part of the household expense. Right? See, Tisha doesn't care about the hen house right now. But when we get birds in there, and if we can teach them to be friendly, oh boy, Alea May will love those chickens. Alea May can have her own chicken, right? So we're not gonna get any love or appreciation though until we get the chickens and everybody falls in love with those chickens, right? And even then, they'll forget what it took to get to those chickens. In other words, dude, I'll get no thanks. It'll be just, oh, we got chickens, it's cool. It's not, gee, thanks, Mom, for sticking it out all those years and doing everything that you did and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll never get no love for those chickens, but at the end of the day, I bet you those chickens will get love. Once we get them, I bet you those chickens will get love. They'll make some good videos. Okay, so that I'm going to end it on this note. You don't need to see me do this, right? Next video, I'll just pan the camera over the finished product. We know where I'm putting the majority of them, downstairs. We know that I have to make a shelf in Auntie ShaMay's room, which I'll do sometime this week, right? I have to find the right screws. I know where they are. I just got to dig them out. And so that I can, you know, slide in Amari's jars very, very, very nicely, you know, right? I'll make as many shelves as I can. And if I can get eight boxes, oh boy, I'd be so happy. And I can pick and choose what I want, bring up 1 or 2 jars, you know, right? Take down the jars when they're empty. And we've got our first, well, it's in the oven, right? One of those Classico jars that my son had for himself that he bought. And the jar is in the oven. So depending on how much juice I have, you'll see me use that jar. And why I recommend that in your travels, when you're out and about, if you do any sort of canning and you're having a panic attack, or even if you want to learn how to can, but you can't find jars, I've given you a solution on how to find jars, right? And everything's good to go. So I'm going to end it on that note, people. Have a good day.